Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Kayla and this video is about our trying to conceive journey for baby number 2. So we knew we want our kids to be exactly or just under 2 years apart. So about a month and a half, almost 2 months after Connor turned 1, end of July, his birthday is June 10th, end of July of this year, I stopped taking the mini pill. I was on the mini pill for the, 6 weeks postpartum till end of July for the purposes of breastfeeding. You want progesterone only pill. Progesterone, actually, I think is the technical name. I got off the pill and we gave ourselves a 5-month trying to conceive window because our goal was to have a summer baby 2 years-ish apart and before the cutoff of the school year for kindergarten, if that makes sense. So like they'd only be 2 grades apart instead of 3. Since Connor's a summer birthday, it has like a fine line between like if the baby's born too late, like in the end of August, that'd be kicked back 3 grades and it wouldn't matter that they're 2 years apart, they'd be 3 grades apart, making them 3 years apart in school, if that makes sense. So give yourself a 5-month window, and as you may know that our very first pregnancy we conceived by complete accident, or it was a complete surprise. So that just, we skipped the trying period completely and it was like, I feel funny, took a test, pregnant. And for Connor's pregnancy, we were wanting to start trying in October of 2021, and September of 2021 we got pregnant. So it was just 1 month early, so basically same kind of thing. Like I was like, we might be pregnant, we might not be, maybe, is it possible? No, I don't know. Took the test, bam, positive. No waiting, no, tracking ovulation, no timed intercourse, nothing crazy. Like it literally was just as is. And so with this baby, we knew this would be the very first time for us to actually try for a baby. Like we never got to experience that, so we were kind of excited just to be normal. And so the first month goes by and nothing. And I was expecting to see those 2 pink lines because it was immediate those 2 times before, like even before immediate, like we were pregnant before we knew we were pregnant without even trying. And like, yes, that annoying couple, but like just that's how it was for us. So I was expecting to see those 2 pink lines. When I didn't, it was such an unfamiliar feeling of just like, it was devastating. I was like, whoa, I do not like how this feels. Like now I kind of have a small like segue of understanding how like people with infertility feel. I mean, just like I now have the capacity to even begin to understand how they might feel year after year, month after month, decade after decade. So, I have a vast, understanding now, or vast empathy now towards these couples, and I can't imagine, because I felt such devastation and just shock. I just didn't understand. I was like, well, there was sperm and there was egg. Why was there not a baby? Like it's never not happened for us. So I was just like, okay. First month, that's normal. So the second month goes by, no pink lines. I was like, man, I have baby fever. I've never had baby fever before. All I know is I want a baby right this second, in our hearts, in our body, in my body, in our family. And it's just not here. And we've got to wait another month or more. And nothing's promised. God does not promise anything. And like secondary infertility is like swarming, the thoughts of that is swarming in my head. And I'm just sitting there panicking and like, okay, like 2 times, like maybe that's normal. Like, not for us, but for normal couples, it's very normal. So I was like, okay, that's just how it is. So, what I realized, so 3rd month we go into trying, and I realize that I started to track my ovulation very carefully, like take the ovulation strips, check my peak, do all the day counting, all that. And where the Ava fertility bracelet tracker that tracks 5 parameters, your basal body temperature, your resting heart rate, and your breathing rate, I believe. Those are the 3 main ones. And I noticed that I have a very short luteal phase, which is the time after ovulation to the start of your next period. It was like 7 to 8 days, and it's normally supposed to be 14. And I've always had that, but this was a little bit extreme even for me. And I was ovulating later than I thought. And so the first 2 months, we were basically trying too early, like where normally you ovulate, you should. And so we were just missing our window, I believe. So I was just like, well, great. Like, what a scrap of a month, like 2 months we just wasted. That could have been, you know, our baby. And also, I had to wonder if my progesterone was too low. So I called my doctor going to that 3rd month, and right after the 3rd month when it didn't work again, and I was just like, hey, like, I think I have low progesterone. And he thought it could be from still breastfeeding, because breastfeeding can cause ovulation issues, which there can cause progesterone issues. But I've always pretty much had, for the most part, late ovulation. It's just much later now than I'm used to. And that just kind of made sense. And I was on progesterone for Connor's pregnancy after I got the positive pregnancy test. And I was just like, you know, And so 3rd month, I tried the over-the-counter progesterone drops, because I didn't have a prescription. So there's like very low dosage. You just put on your arm, it absorbs into your body. I mean, it's just minuscule amounts of progesterone. And that month, no baby. So that's when I called my doctor and I said, hey, I really think I have low progesterone. Even with that low dosage, I still had the 7-day luteal phase. I had late ovulation day 19, cycle day 19, supposed to be 14. And I'm like, I just feel like this is my problem. And he, was like, sure, well, let's put you on some progesterone. It can't hurt anything. So the next cycle, starting the day of ovulation, which was October 29th, that night, because I got my peak the day before, so that night, which was ovulation day, a little bit after, I took my very first progesterone pill, and you just take it by mouth every night, and it's 200 milligrams in case you were curious. And that's what I took during Connor's pregnancy too, and you just take that until either it's 14 days later and you're not pregnant, or if you are, you continue through the first trimester, kind of like how I did with Connor's once I found out I was pregnant. So I started to, at that point, I was like, okay, I know this is our month. Like, I know it is. And I started taking progesterone, a few days before Halloween, and I felt all the symptoms. Like, your body normally doesn't have that high progesterone even before implantation, even if you've conceived, which I had. I didn't know it yet. And so I was like, I felt terrible. I had, the headaches. I had just dizziness, just icky, nausea, I felt so gross, so tired, lightheaded, just all of it. And around 7 days post-ovulation, I took my first pregnancy test that morning. Didn't look at it. I just was so heartbroken after 3 months prior. I was like, I just can't go through this. I said, if I'm not pregnant, what else can we do? And I said, what if we just can't have another baby? And giving your child a sibling is one of the greatest gifts you can give them, if that's what your choice is. And I was just like, that's what we are needing, and that's what we are wanting so desperately. So I just take the test, put it on the counter, put a paper towel over, or a Kleenex over, just don't look. And which was, it was 7 days post-ovulation. It was Sunday, November 5th. And then Monday, November 6th, took a test, put it on the side, didn't look at it. And then Tuesday, November 7th, took a test, didn't look at it, put it on the side. And I was like, okay, if I was pregnant, one of these tests, preferably the one from that day, would be positive. And I told Cody, and I was like, I can't look at it. I said, maybe tonight when you get home after work, we'll look at it together on that Tuesday, 9 days post-ovulation. And so, middle of that day, I start feeling all the symptoms. And I had implantation bleeding starting 8 days post-ovulation, which I have with every pregnancy. And I have spotting before my periods, but it's a little bit different. Usually like 4 days before my period every month. But this time it looked like implantation bleeding like the 2 times before. So I was like, well, it could just be spotting. I could just be getting my period here in a few days. And so I was just like getting in my head, I was like, don't get my hopes up, it's fine, it's just how it is. And then Connor came up to me, he lifted up my shirt, he patted my stomach, and he said, baby, and kissed it. And I was like, I've never taught him that. My son's 17 months old. He has no clue, barely what a baby is, and would it be in my tummy? No, and he's never done that or cared about my stomach. And so I was like in utter shock, and I called my husband and I said, we've got to look at that test tonight, no matter what. I've got to know either way. So we go over there. This is our first time looking at a positive pregnancy test together. Usually I'm too impatient, I look first, or earlier in the days. And so we went over there together and I said, Cody, I can't look. Can you just look for me, please? I'm just terrified, absolutely terrified. And so we pull up the paper, the Kleenex, and I'm just, like, my eyes are just, you know, averted away. And he looks and he goes, I see something. And I said, well, if there's something, a line is a line, like, you're pregnant, no matter how light the line is. Like, if there's 2 lines, you're pregnant. And he's like, I see it on the one today. And I look and I see it on the 9-day post-ovulation and the 8-day post-ovulation. I was just so, like, I didn't even get a chance to be, like, boastfully, arrogantly just run around. I was like, I'm pregnant. Like, I was just like, fall to your knees, kind of like, oh, like, that was not so fun. Like, I thought maybe it'd be fun to try for the baby, like, okay, like, that was too much emotional, just tearing, like, too much for me. I can't handle that. I knew that infertility, just, I can't handle it. That's not my road to travel. I've gone through a lot with my son's club feet, miscarriage before. I knew this was not my path to have to endure. And so, or my battle to fight. So I knew, I was just, like, so grateful. It's like, okay, that's it. Like, that's all I needed. Like, thank you, God. Thank you. I mean, just so humbled and so grateful, and just felt like I could just barely breathe. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, here it is, we did it. Such a different feeling than the last 2 times finding out I was pregnant. Just so grateful. Like, could not get over how grateful. Just in shock. And so I got to tell some of my closest family and friends, and apparently it was the progesterone. So I have extremely, extremely low progesterone. And I had gotten, that 3rd month, I had gotten 7-day post-ovulation blood draw, because at that point, which is day 21 of your cycle, your progesterone should be at the highest, and then it drops off, and that's what signals your period. And on that day, it was a level 2, my progesterone, and it's supposed to be between 15 and 25. That's why my luteal phase is short, and I spot so much before my period, and have sleep issues. And so I was like, wow, it really was the progesterone. And I've been able to help different family members with this exact same issue, and I'm just so grateful. I think I've saved myself a massive heartache, and saved my family generations of infertility or issues. I mean, I would still be sitting here trying to conceive if I hadn't have asked for progesterone, or I would have had another miscarriage or 2. And I am eternally grateful. And basically, that first baby that we lost, basically, his life was sacrificed for us to be able to figure this out. I truly believe Connor would have died early in that pregnancy if we hadn't put him on progesterone, or if I hadn't been on progesterone with his pregnancy very early on. And my numbers of this pregnancy have been off the charts, like way better than even Connor's pregnancy, which was the successful pregnancy. You know, my numbers right now are just incredible. So for reference, Connor's first blood draw, which was like 4 weeks and 3 days long, my HCG was like a 12, my progesterone was like 13. And I remember my HCG was 16 and my progesterone was a 12. My very first pregnancy, my HCG was 13, progesterone was also 13. And this pregnancy, my very first blood draw at 3 weeks and 3 days along, or 4 days along, was HCG 37, progesterone 40. And I really attribute this to the progesterone being on. So I am heartbroken to know that that first baby could have been saved if I had known this information. And although those numbers weren't on the border, which is like 10, I think is the border, but with Connor's pregnancy, that second blood draw, which was 2 days after that first, my progesterone had dropped, and I knew, that's what we knew right then. I was like, we have to be on progesterone, and I was on it that first trimester. And with this one, it's just been amazing. My second blood draw, HCG is 126, more than tripled from that 37, and progesterone 90. And my third blood draw, which was 5 days after that, 2,326 HCG. Progesterone was so high I couldn't even like count. Like, it was way beyond the range, like just amazing. And I'm so grateful to God for researching, doing all this, you know, checking my parameters, you know, learning about my cycle, learning about how everything works, and just realizing this. And I think I've saved myself from such heartache and pain. Be your own advocate. Do not settle for what seems to be okay, what's alright, what's in the standard, you know, range. Like, if you feel something's wrong and you have evidence to support it, or even if you don't, look into it. What can it hurt? It can't hurt anything. You know, the worst someone could say is no, and then go somewhere else and try it, you know, try again. So I'm eternally grateful that we are pregnant again with our second baby. And we have told most family at this point, and that was my whole trying to conceive journey. It was much more in depth than I thought. I thought I was just gonna get off the pill, you know, the birth control pill, and then 3.5 weeks later, positive pregnancy test, and that was absolutely not the case. And I never predicted we would have that minuscule trouble, which would have been much longer if I hadn't figured out about the progesterone. But now I know, and I can help. If I have a daughter, if this is a girl, I can help her. And I've already been able to help different family members and figure out the lineage from above me in the generations, what was going on, and now it all makes sense. So due date is July 19th, 2024. This new baby and Connor will be 25 months apart, and I do realize just because we're on progesterone doesn't necessarily mean we're 1000% out of the woods, or this will be guaranteed to be a successful pregnancy or a healthy baby, but it just adds a lot of safety nets to what's already here. And you know, with that being said, I of course am still nervous and scared, but that's just where you lean on God, and God He's got you. So I'm curious to see if this baby is a girl, which my gut feeling is yes. If I'm wrong, that's okay. I would love another little boy, precious little boy, to see if they look like Connor or not. But I really, with my heart, I believe this is a girl. Hello, future son, if this is not you, if this is not Callie, if this is not a girl, so sorry. But here we are. And I'm curious, we'll probably be inducing like we did last time. So this baby will most likely be born on July 13th. So thank you guys for watching.